Greetings and welcome to the next edition of
Positronic.
I Am Barry P. Cook. Let's get into some talk, shall we? First thing I want to do is correct a quick error that I made in my last video. I was talking about lower decks and how one of the things in the episode was this whole concept of the visiting captain, the most recent episode. And I had said that I didn't understand this whole visiting captain concept, that it was something we hadn't seen before in Star Trek. I said that we had seen, for example, another captain running things on the Enterprise D when Picard had been assimilated, but that it wasn't a visiting captain. It was someone who had taken over the ship as captain because he was, lost to Starfleet, or considered lost to Starfleet. And that's true, but it was Riker. I was thinking of when Captain Jellicoe took over the Enterprise, and I was thinking that had occurred because of the whole Picard got assimilated thing, but that's not what happened. Jellicoe did take over temporarily as a visiting captain, though I don't think they referred to it as that, when Picard went on a side mission for Starfleet, or a special mission for Starfleet. So I was incorrect when I said that this visiting captain thing hadn't been done before, and I just want to clear that up. Okay, so what do we want to talk about this week, or this time, I should say? Things are shaking up in the comic book world. DC Comics has announced that they are ending DC Universe as we know it, their streaming service. It's now going to be called DC Universe Unlimited, and it's going to include a lot of exclusive comics and a bunch of other comics that I guess you can also, get in physical form. They're going to be digital on the service. And just like Doom Patrol and Harley Quinn have gone on to be shown on HBO Max, the same is going to happen for Titans. And I guess their other programming. It's going to move to HBO Max. Maybe not the older stuff, but anything new they're doing apparently is going to now be on HBO Max, which is good for me because I have HBO and I love Doom Patrol. So I'm looking forward to season 3 of that on HBO Max. Harley Quinn, I wasn't originally going to watch. I loved Haley Cuoco in The Big Bang Theory. I didn't think she was a good casting for Harley Quinn. And of course, I don't really think anybody is good casting for Harley Quinn except for Tara Strong. But, that's just me. I'm a bit of a purist, I guess, in that regard. But, while her portrayal was different, while the character they wrote for her was a different Harley Quinn than what we're used to, it ended up being a good show. I watched both seasons on HBO Max once I found out it was there, and I like it. There are things about it that I don't think comport with what's come before from DC, either animated or live action, but it works for what it is, and I like it. And people must be saying, but Barry, you don't like Lower Decks. How come you don't look at Lower Decks that way? Well, because no one is saying Harley Quinn is supposed to fit in with established canon or the established DC continuity. It's its own thing in a separate universe. Lower Decks is supposed to jibe with everything else. We're supposed to look at it as part of the whole. So that's why I can't take the same approach to Lower Decks. But anyway, I don't want to talk about Lower Decks. I wanted to tell you about DC Universe Unlimited. So that's happening. And I'm looking forward to that change because, quite frankly, I have too many streaming services. The only reason I even saw Titans season 1 and season 2 is because each time those seasons, when those seasons each came out, I took advantage of a free trial period after they had already aired, of course, 1 week at a time, because they don't want anybody doing what I did, at least when they first come out. But that's what I ended up doing. Once both seasons had all been released, I binge watched them over the course of a couple of days during a free trial, because there was no way I'm paying for DC Unlimited when it didn't have anything I wanted, literally, except Titans. I hadn't started watching Doom Patrol yet. I watched it when it came to HBO Max. I hadn't started watching Harley Quinn for the reasons I just gave, and so I had no reason to pay for that service. So I'm glad that, and I'm a DC Comics guy, but I didn't think the value for the money was there for just one show. And certainly now that the three shows that I watch, that came from DC Universe are on a subscription that I already have, of course I'm not paying for an additional service just to watch old shows. I'm not doing that. So anyway, that's happening. But while we're talking about streaming shows, the next thing I want to get to is something that's been happening lately with feature films in the wake of COVID-19, and that is that most of them just haven't come out. A number of them have come out, and they've been offered, on streaming services for rent, but at a premium. Trolls was kind of the one that started it. The studio took a big chance on that. They didn't know, how it was going to go, but it worked out well. They made a bunch of money. And so now this is a model that we're seeing, employed more and more. Most recently, we're talking about a couple of different movies. Bill and Ted Face the Music. That came out a couple of weekends ago. It was offered for $20 for the premium rental. So, I think it was a Saturday when I realized it was finally live. And the wife and I watched that since there was nothing else on, and you can't go anywhere. And we thought, hey, $20, it's a nostalgia trip, something to do for a couple of hours. We like Keanu Reeves. So we said, let's just get it. And we did. Mulan, I had been waiting to see for a long time. I'm a big fan of the animated version, and the live action version just looked incredible to me in all the trailers. So I said, I've got to see that when it comes out. And so we rented that as well. $30. I happen to have a Disney subscription because I got it for free for a year with my cable package. So I didn't have to pay the monthly premium. So I just paid the $30. We watched it. I'm not going to do a review, but I will say it didn't seem to me that it was as great a movie as the trailers made me think it was. But there were some very cool moments, and it was definitely worth seeing. Maybe not quite worth $30, but I wanted to see it. I paid the $30. Then we had Antebellum just the other day, which again I've been waiting to see since I first saw the trailers because it looked very freaky, and I just had to see it. And Janelle Monáe is just sublime in everything she does. I love her, so I wanted to see it absolutely. She did not disappoint. She is amazing. Again, I'm not going to do a review of Antebellum, but it was another movie that when it was over, I didn't think was all that great. But it was a good, 2 hours worth of entertainment. And like I said, the opportunity to watch Janelle Monáe do anything is one I will always take advantage of because she's fantastic. But the reason I brought this up is because, that was another $20 rental. And one thing that, or another thing I should say, besides being offered as premium rentals, that these three movies have in common is that they were available for free on the pirate sites either the day they came out or in the next day or two. And I'm talking about perfect, crisp, pristine copies were available on the pirate streaming sites the same day or within a couple of days of their release. And I point this out because I'm forced to wonder how many customers each of those films lost to the pirate sites, because the premium was so high. Now, it's not so high compared to what you would pay to go to the movies, especially if you're going as a couple or a family. And it's not ridiculously high like, the price of high-end designer shoes. But, compared to the regular rental, that you pay on, on demand on your cable package, for example, or even on Amazon, if you stream a movie that doesn't come with your subscription, it's only $6, $7, sometimes $10. Um, and, of course, Redbox, which still exists, is only a couple of dollars. So I'm forced to wonder what they were thinking when they decided to charge that much. Because, if you get 100 people to stream your movie at $20, you've taken in $2,000, right? But if you get, I gotta do some math here. What did I say? If you get 100 people to stream it at $20, you've made $2,000. You can make $2,000 charging, $10, and you just have to get more people, more people to pay that much. And I think more people than paid $20 or $30 would have paid $10, $7 to stream these movies instead of going to the free streaming sites. Now, I haven't looked at any data. I don't have anything to back this up. I'm just saying that they had to have lost some customers to the free streaming sites. And that's, they're going to come out even if you figure, okay, they got fewer people, but those fewer people paid $20 and $30 instead of $7. So they didn't really lose any money on the deal. That might be true. Again, I don't know. I haven't looked at any numbers. But if you're going into it with that logic, that of course they knew it was going to be pirated on day one, and of course they knew they were going to lose some customers. So if you figure they charged more to make up the difference between the people that they lost and the people that paid, rather than charging less and trying to get everybody to watch it legitimately, then you might think, well, they came out okay. What's the difference? It's a wash. The problem is that if you're a movie studio, you don't want people to get in the habit of streaming movies, right? You don't want that to be something that they do all the time. Now, a lot of the times, movies that get up on these sites are really bad quality. They're shot literally off the screen by idiots. And the quality of the sound is bad. The quality of the picture is bad. You got people walking in front of the camera. You got people coughing and making other sounds. So, it's not something that everybody's going to do. But these sites are there, and people do use them. So I would think that if you're a movie studio, you don't want to get people in that habit. You certainly wouldn't want to do anything that would encourage people to discover an alternate delivery channel that doesn't make you any money. Yet when you charge $30 for Mulan, that's what you're doing. You're encouraging people to look for alternative delivery channels that cost them less or nothing and that don't make you any money. So I think it's dumb. I think the next, film that comes out at a premium rental, the next film that comes out direct to streaming that would otherwise have gone to film theaters, because some movies are just direct to DVD, as it were, direct to VOD. They aren't ever intended for theaters. But I think the next big release that would otherwise have gone to theaters, which comes to VOD, should not come at $30, should not come at $20, should come at $10. Be smart. Get more people to pay $10 than you would get to pay $20. Make the same amount of money, maybe a little less, but don't lose people to pirating long term. That's what you want to avoid. It's worth losing even a little bit of money to not do something that's going to encourage people to pirate your films on an ongoing basis. So charge less, get more people, reduce the amount of people who discover streaming, and save yourself a headache, in the long run. That's what I think they should do. Are they going to do that? Who knows? But that's what I think they should do. So that's my 2 cents. Let's get back to comics for a second. Let's go over to the Marvel side of things. SheHulk is going to be on Disney Plus as a series. and that's cool. I don't know very much about She-Hulk. I never read the book. I've seen the character in various animated forms over the years, and I like the character, and I want to see this show. But what makes it even more interesting to me is that they've cast Tatiana Maslany in the lead role, and she is just fabulous. Loved her in Orphan Black. Just she blew me away with her acting ability. I'm someone who has studied acting. I have an associate's degree in theater from a local community college. And so, from that standpoint, I've done a couple of really, really, really micro budget movies. So I've done some acting, and acting is something I, am passionate about. I should myself actually be in a community theater, but I just don't have the get up and go for that. But I like acting. Acting is something that I've done, something that I've studied. So a really good performance uh, really jazzes me, and she's great. So I'm thrilled that she got the lead in this. I can't wait to watch her play the part. I'm hearing though that some people are not happy with her casting because she seems to them to be kind of an activist, kind of a political activist. Um, and they're concerned that this is going to bleed into the show and make it a show that is overly activist, that spends too much time on putting out a message versus telling great stories. And this fear, I think, from what I understand, is buttressed on behalf of these people by comments that various showrunners or studio insiders have said about the series. And I want to talk about that because this is a thing that's been going on lately, right? People are outraged that this show or this film or this entertainment entity, I'm looking at you, Batwoman and Disney, and Star Wars, have gone woke, and have gone over the deep end into being platforms for political activism versus just being entertainment. And it rubs some people the wrong way. And I can see why they get this feeling. I can see where maybe some of that has occurred. And I see, where a lot of it occurred a couple of seasons ago on Supergirl. A couple of seasons ago on Supergirl, they went woke big time with a season-long story arc about nationalism versus being more welcoming to immigrants. And it, of course, was translated to, for purposes of the show, to humans versus off-worlders, right? So they had this whole story-long season arc about a whole movement. I don't know if it was Earth-wide or just in Supergirl's city against, beings from other planets living among humans. And it's not a message that I disagreed with, the message being we shouldn't be prejudiced against immigrants. We shouldn't be anti-immigrant, in an extreme way. We should evaluate people as individuals or groups as, individual groups. So I didn't disagree with the message. The problem I had was that it was way over the top. They just hit the audience over the head with it vigorously. It was very in your face and just over the top. And I found it unpleasant. I really did because, I watched the show partly for the stories, partly because I like the women on the show. They're quite attractive. And so that's why I watch it. It's not high art, right? These superhero shows, they're not high art. I love superhero shows. I love superhero films. I think the Avengers movies were more high art than anything on the CW, you know. So it's not that comic books can't be high art. I'm not saying that. But this particular show is not high art, right? It's just a goofy little show about a superhero, and it's fun. It's fun to watch, okay? But this particular season, I think it was season 5, I'm not sure. It might have been season 4. They went gonzo crazy, you know, soccer balls to the wall with the messaging. It was over the top and just cringeworthy to the nth degree to watch. I only stayed with it because I enjoy the show and I enjoy looking at the ladies in the costumes. But I'll tell you, if they had not reined it in the next season, I don't think that I would have kept watching. The following season, they cut most of it out. They didn't, go crazy with the messaging. They didn't hit the audience over the head anymore. They weren't in your face with the, political message or activist message. So I was glad for that because I've been able to stay with the show. And it's not just because I like looking at the ladies. I think some of the character relationships are very cool and well written and a joy to take in. I find them, somewhat moving. So I'm being glib. I'm being flip with you about looking at the ladies in costumes. But I am glad they knocked it off for subsequent seasons because they hadn't done it before this particular season. So it was out of the blue and just didn't fit the show. And so I'm glad they didn't continue with it. And I can understand where people would be rubbed the wrong way by that because it rubbed me the wrong way and I agreed with the message. So there's definitely a danger of that, kind of thing occurring in any media. And I can see why people wouldn't want it to be in your face. But here's the thing, it seems to me like people don't want it at all. Like they're just opposed to messaging at all in media. And I think that's a little silly, actually, because anyone who's ever been a fan of sci-fi, fantasy, that kind of thing, this is how it's been for decades. Okay, the original Star Trek had a message. Sometimes it was a little in your face, but it always had a morality play at the center. Very many of the stories were about, moral issues and political issues. It was that way by design. Certainly, Star Trek 4 and Star Trek 6, the original series film Star Trek 4 and Star Trek 6 had activist type messages, right? Star Trek 4 was about let's not screw up the planet so badly that we kill off a species or somehow do something that in the future we wish we hadn't done because the consequence ends up being the destruction of the earth. So that was the huge message of Star Trek 4. And nobody complained back then that it was, woke. Of course, woke wasn't a thing, but nobody complained saying, oh, this stopped being entertainment. They're giving us a message. Just tell a story, buddy. Nobody said that. Everybody got it, and there wasn't this backlash to the fact that that film clearly took a standpoint on a socio-political issue. Star Trek 6, not the fan favorite among the original series films, but it was the same thing. It was a message about, not only conservation, given what happened to the Klingons in that story, but about, the Cold War and, the pros and cons of being closed-minded about people who have been, quote unquote, your enemy. It's about making peace, you know, about not being stuck in old ways that are actually a detriment to you in the long run. So huge message, and there weren't all these people flipping out and making YouTube videos about, oh my God, it's a message piece, it's an activism deal. It should just be entertaining. Nobody did that. So I don't know what it is about why people can't handle that in the present. Again, Supergirl went too far that season. It was over the top. I mean, more so than the message in Star Trek 4 and Star Trek 6. It was just, they went out of their way to like to hit you over the head with it. So it was bad. But, you know, Next Gen was always about some kind of moral social issue. Deep Space Nine, the whole issue with the Dominion War brought up all kinds of you know, social issues and political issues. So Deep Space Nine was about messaging and had morality plays. Next Gen did. Voyager totally did. You know, the original series did. So this is something, and people didn't flip out about it. The fact that Picard sort of has a message has people, you know, just beside themselves over the fact that it's woke. I don't know. I think people have forgotten what's come before. Look, Frankenstein, the novel Frankenstein was a political commentary, a social commentary, okay? Dracula was a social commentary, political commentary in a way. Gulliver's Travels absolutely was by design political commentary. You know, and these are the classics, literally the classics. Animal Farm. Animal Farm was absolutely a political social commentary. 1984. Okay, again, these are the classics, and nobody like flipped out about it. 1984 was a movie. The themes of 1984 have been repeated in all kinds of media, and people don't flip out and say, oh, it's messaging, they need to not do that. Why the sudden change? Why do we flip out now if maybe She-Hulk might be a little bit messagey, if that's a word, you know, or that Batwoman might have been a little preachy, like, which by the way, I didn't really notice. Certainly not compared to Supergirl, that one season. So I don't understand it. You know, South Park every week for 20 years has had something to say about social issues. X-Men, the whole concept of X-Men, at least since the animated series and in the, you know, the films, the first two films anyway, were heavy with, you know, social commentary. The whole issue was, you know, just like on Supergirl, mutants shouldn't be treated like scum of the earth and like second-class citizens because they happen to have mutant, you know, genes. That was the whole message of the X-Men, was that the persecution of these people was wrong. Nobody flipped out about it. Nobody said, oh God, it's politically active. It's political. People just enjoyed it, even though it was that. So, I mean, MASH, again, one of the classic TV shows, was political commentary every frame. You know, it was couched in comedy, but same as on South Park. But that's what it was, people. And we don't look back at these shows and go, oh God, so political, terrible that is. So I don't understand what the problem is today. I don't know, maybe there's just too much of it all at the same time. Maybe it's a question of, I don't know. I think it's right to be concerned. I think what you don't want, okay, is political commentary that's dialed up to 12, right? You know, like Supergirl that one season, you don't want to be hit over the head with it. But the idea that entertainment can have a message and take a political stand is insane. on the original series and on TNG and maybe on DS9, they sort of would present what you could call both sides of the argument, right? There would be people that spoke up for handling things one way and people who spoke up for handling things another way or seeing things another way. And so you would kind of get both sides so it wasn't lopsided messaging. So maybe people didn't have a problem with it for that reason. South Park does the same thing. And maybe what they're looking for is more balance. I don't know. So what I would say is let's not have messaging. I would say let's have balanced messaging. But nobody's saying that. They're saying let's not have messaging. And I don't think that's a good idea. And I don't think they really want that. I think that the other, entertainment vehicles that they've enjoyed over the years, these same people have been that and they enjoyed it. So I think what we should focus on is having entertainment that isn't politically lopsided, because that's not cool. And that's what this pretty much was. It was politically lopsided on Supergirl. You had the other side saying their piece, but none of it was being said reasonably. They were just, all the time. So it wasn't really fair. And it was dialed way, way up, like way, way up. And I don't think that was good. So I can see not wanting that, but I don't understand what this pushback is against messaging in general. And that's what we're hearing. We're not hearing, hey, it's turned up too high. Hey, it's too lopsided. We're hearing, don't do messaging and entertainment. I mean, that's just not realistic. It's not realistic based on what's come before, and it's not realistic based on how things should be. There should be messaging and entertainment. It's always been that way. People love Star Trek and Doctor Who and, so forth, because it makes you think about stuff. That's the whole point. That's why we love it. So to these people, I would say, try to chill out, try not to freak out unless you see it really lopsided and really over the top. That would be my advice. Sticking with comic books, just to close out here, I want to point out that the WandaVision trailer has dropped. A lot of folks are doing a breakdown of it. I don't think there's really anything to break down. It's a trailer. Obviously they show some interesting vignettes that are going to be presented when the program airs. It's nice that we saw, they're going to have the other Captain Marvel in there, not the Brie Larson version. So we're going to see Captain Marvel being played by Catherine Hahn. She's going to be playing the Monica Rambeau version. So that'll be cool. Trailer doesn't say when it's coming. That's a little bit annoying. But I'm looking forward to that. Also from Marvel Comics, just like SheHulk. So if you haven't seen the trailer, check it out. I'm not going to run it because I don't want to get nicked for copyright, but it's out there. It's on YouTube. That's it. I'm going to go now, and I'll see you next time on Positronic Hypersonic. Peace and long life, my friends.